detail for the BattleAxe V200 Leafslayer variant by Beowulf Big Blocks. So, another one of Beowulf Big Blocks' ridiculous car designs. The Leafslayer variant differs from the original Sport Sharpened variant, as the car is actually weaker but more fuel efficient. For those of you who've been following, Orc Logic states that purple is sneaky, and I could not think of a better color for that you would want to paint this car than purple, because you don't exactly want to be seen in a Leafslayer variant of the BattleAxe V200. Beowulf Big Blocks does intend to use Beowulf Big Blocks does follow a very angry Viking warrior-like theme, having all of their cars appear to be very angry at whoever's in front or behind them, while also being very overpowered and moderately okay to drive. The Leafslayer is the only Beowulf Big Block car in 2012 to have been equipped with a V6 engine, which we will look at in a minute. It is the most fuel-efficient engine that they make. It is also the weakest engine that they make. So, to catch up on the chassis of this car, the BattleAxe V200. Unfortunately, many of their cars in 2012 were built from mainly a lot of the same frames, so this is why many of them are basically identical, apart from a few trim details. So, in case you missed it in the first video, we had in the Sport Sharpened video, we have the McPherson struts in the front, with the lower control arm there, the suspension up there. And then in the back we have multi-link, and that's 5 links. I counted them earlier. Monocoque chassis, or unit body, whichever country you're from to orient that. And then there's our small engine in the front of the car. It does not look as big as our other engine. AHS steel and aluminum panels. I could not change the orientation of the engine, and instead of making it longitudinal front-wheel drive, I stuck with the rear-wheel drive configuration. Again, the car is purple, because purple is sneaky. So, sneaky purple, so that way you don't see yourself, so that way someone doesn't see you in an eco-friendly Beowulf Big Block car. Here is your engine configurations. Its peak horsepower is 195 horsepower, 200 foot-pound of torque. 6 cylinders, V configuration, ALSI because it's light. A single overhead cam with 4 valves, ALSI. No variable valve lift. So there is your ooh, that looks a bit different than I remember. But that is your valve configuration. Yeah. I see how it works. Okay. It is just one valve. Or not one valve, one cam. The, everything in this section, granted they're considerably high-performance parts, the reason they were selected is to increase is to decrease the engine's weight. So we have, and as well as the fuel efficiency. So we have the I-beam titanium, which means that this could be potentially quite powerful, but not with these low friction casts that are supposed to be highly fuel efficient. And then the billet steel was supposed to be very, very lightweight compared to everything else. We are at maximum variant capacity. The quality had to be maxed out here, so that way the engine wouldn't strain itself under the low friction cast pistons. The compression is 9.4 to 1. I think that's a little lower than the sport version. Cam profile is 41. Again, no VVL. No variable valve timing. These are our aesthetics. The Orc yellow, because yellow makes bigger explosions, and bigger explosions means that you can put out more power and thus go faster. Like all of these engines that I'm building, it is naturally aspirated, which means no turbocharger and no supercharger. Not that superchargers are even an option in this game at the moment. As per usual, injection with multi-point EFI. This is a single configuration with a standard intake. Regular pump gasoline at 86.5 octane. A low fuel mixture. This is as low as I felt it being comfortable to make power. 49 valve timing, or not ignition timing. As for why I didn't put it higher, I'm not sure, because it would have made more power, better economy, at the expense of octane. The RPM limit is 6,000 RPM. Quality's in the middle again. The quality for the exhaust pipes was left at the highest because it offers some advantages that were considered needed, while the total cost of the engine was still relatively low. We have tubular headers, which are these things right here. The reason we didn't pick, I don't know why we didn't pick short cast, except that it, I might have to look at that later. We did go with dual exhaust because Beowulf Big Blocks, trying to be the badasses they are, they put dual exhaust on everything that can take it, which is everything that they've built thus far. No bypass valves, a small exhaust diameter. This decreases the noise as well as increasing the power of the car without adjusting any other setting. A two-way catalytic converter, mainly because it's lightweight, reverse flow, and straight through. The reason that this is different is because this is about a pound and a half lighter, and it's already a very quiet engine, but it needed to be quieter. So we could have used another straight through here, which would have increased airflow, fuel efficiency, but it also would have been louder. So again, here are the statistics on the engine. We have our power, torque, our red line, which is the maximum RPM. Its throttle response is a little lower than the sport version at 31.9%. The loudness is 28.1, so we probably could throw on that other straight through. The smoothness is 72. Holy crap, that's good. Reliability is almost 80, so that's pretty good too. The required cooling is, until later, this is one of the coolest engines I had ever created. And that means temperature cool, not cool, because I like this engine, but not that much. The weight of the engine was the lowest I could get. It was 253 pounds. So the engine alone, you could probably lift with 2 people. There's our size. The service costs are meh. The emissions are 78, which is pretty low compared to everything else I've built for the index. The economy is 23.13%. An economy-based car is 30%. So this is obviously less than this is obviously less than I was hoping for, but it's supposed to be a big engine, and it makes a fair amount of power. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a Beowulf Big Block. And I tried to make it as light as possible, so it is quite light. The engine costs about $1,400. And of course, because each index does require that I sound test each car individually, even if they were in the same engines. Here we go. We have our kind of soft, kitty kind of purr little engine at idle. I'm not sure why a six-cylinder of the same capacity per cylinder has the always has a higher pitch sound than a V8. I think it's because of the way that they offset each of these cylinders. So every 1/3 of a circle, a cylinder on each side hits the ignition. So next is don't jam. There we go. That would have sucked if it did. So here we go. Starting with the gearbox. To allow this to be about as safe as possible, we stuck it with an automatic transmission, of course with a torque converter because we have to. It's got a whopping 6 gear ratios as opposed to the usual 4 that you see in an automatic. The top speed is 130 miles an hour, which is pretty standard. The spacing was rather high, actually. I'm not sure why I did that, but it works. A vicious LSD, which is the limited slip differential. This was selected for comfort reasons. I'm looking at the stats right there. As opposed to the geared LSD, which is what we usually do. Medium quality. Hard long life road because they are good tires. Of course we have alloy wheels and basic 175mm wheels in the front and back, which means a spare tire will go more versatilely in either direction on this car. We do have the standard Beowulf Big Block large thick 5 spokes. We have solid disc brakes with 2 pistons each because it's cheaper and lighter. 280mm pads. Again, solid disc, 2 pistons, same size, medium quality, and those are the brakes right there for your reference. Next is aerodynamics. We don't have an under tray because we don't need one. Cooling airflow was meant to meet the maximum. It does exceed it by a little more than I'd like it to, but I can't get it any lower. There's no brake airflow. We decreased the drag as much as we could to increase fuel economy. Interior-wise, as with the Sport model, we have 5 seats. Two bucket seats in the front and then 1 bench seat in the back. It has standard interior, medium quality. Entertainment is standard. We do have the power steering and anti-lock brakes. Anti-lock brakes are a little less luxurious on this variant, mainly because it's supposed to be a little safer. Better comfort, better prestige. Wait, I read that wrong. Medium quality. Standard O's for the safety. And again, medium quality. I believe we have a comfort setup here, but we have progressive springs, which don't offer a lot of sportiness, but they do offer a fair amount of comfort and are very cheap. A gas monotube, which puts it about in the middle of the road. A semi-active sway bar, which is actually a fairly good balance of dirt cheap to decent stats. The quality here is also in the middle. So we have an overview of the BattleAxe V200 Leafslayer. Drivability is about 50, so that's pretty good. The sportiness is quite low. Comfort's also pretty good. The prestige, not the greatest. Safety's pretty good. This is a $10,000 car. The practicality is pretty good. Utility not that great. Off-road is not that great. The reliability is pretty good. The car weighs 3,200 pounds. Makes about 25.1 miles to the gallon versus the sport version at 19.8. As far as the track goes, we have starts our top speed of 130 miles an hour. It will get to from 0 to 62 in 8.6 seconds, which is fair for a sporty, luxurious car of, economy commuter type. So that stuff. This has 0.9 Gs at low speeds, and then lower than that at high speeds. The maximum roll angle is 2.71. It'll do a quarter mile in 16.14 seconds, which is great, but it's not bad either. Standing kilometer, which is the same thing, but straight line for a certain distance, 29.25 seconds. Not terrible. I will let this run around around the track for y'all's amusement. I'll compare it to the sport version, of course, because that is the base. And then, other than that, there we go. So it's actually kind of getting up there pretty fast in those gears, but it does have 6 of them. You can pull those G's kind of hard, but it can't pull acceleration that hard. So there we go. Not a lot of pull in the back, so it's not really getting up and moving. Those brakes are good. Brakes are probably the most influential part of acceleration and deceleration anywhere in the car. Again, the brakes. This is going to get us our maximum speed. However, I don't think it's going to be that high. We are in final gear. It's almost at top speed, and nope, not quite. It is not going to make it. Of course, around the bend we do have our throttling and our I'll admit it does sound kind of good for something that's kind of wimpy. Dare I say, it sort of sounds like my car, because my car's also a V6. So there again, we have more negative G's in the forward direction than anywhere else. Full throttle in 5th gear, not going very fast. Could not reach 120 kilometers an hour before reaching that turn, but I could do the turn fairly well with those brakes. Alright, so this was an index for the BattleAxe V200 Leafslayer variant by Beowulf Big Blocks in 2012 for the book that my friends are writing called Fire and Ice. If you are interested in more vehicles for the index or the book itself, which has nothing to do with cars, then there will be an index later of every car in the book, as I am currently trying to work on that as my project. So more videos coming soon. Thank you guys for watching.